Remember how is Daniel? I mean, we're not going to repeat everything, but Daniel chapter 1 to chapter 6 is all of Daniel's life. Daniel's life. And then in chapter 7 to the end of the book are visions that he had during these days. Remember, chapter 1 to chapter 4 is Daniel under the kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar. Chapter 5 is Daniel under the kingdom of his son, Nebuchadnezzar's son, Belshazzar. Belshazzar, yeah, let's abbreviate like this. And Daniel chapter 6 is Daniel under the kingdom of Darius or Cyrus. This is Daniel's life. Here he's a young kid being brought into Babylon. Here he's an older man. Daniel respected a lot Nebuchadnezzar, and he was active during Nebuchadnezzar's reign. During Belshazzar, Daniel does not show up. He only shows up at the end, chapter 5, and he sees the writing on the wall. And he's very rude to Belshazzar. He says, you can keep your gold. Remember, you can keep your gold, but I'm going to tell you what the writing on the wall means. And basically the writing on the wall means that the kingdom was taken from you. We studied this before. So, chapter 5, Belshazzar. And chapter 6 is Daniel in the lion's den under Darius or Cyrus. Fascinating chapter. And we saw this. Now in chapter 7 starts his visions. And we are going to see the vision on chapter 8. The rest of the visions, I don't understand them. I cannot teach on the rest of the visions. It's the 70 weeks. Pastors teach about that, and I never heard a good explanation, to tell you the truth. I'm not very satisfied. Let's see chapter 8 today. Let's see chapter 8. We have to finish at 12. Who's going to help me reading? Renee? Please. Chapter 8 of Daniel, and we are going to see, I'm going to interrupt you as this comes along. And you can interrupt also, okay, if comment comes along.
Let me know if you can't hear me.
Okay.
In the third year of the reign of King Belteshazzar, a vision appeared to me.
Okay, first interruption. Let me close. Look when this is happening. This is happening on the third year of Belshazzar. It's happening here. Daniel is a kid under Nebuchadnezzar. Belshazzar is just one chapter. Daniel doesn't show up during the reign of Belshazzar, only at the end. Remember, at the end of Belshazzar's reign, there was the writing on the wall. Belshazzar's wife, or mother, some say, some versions, he says, there is a captive, there is a man who was one of the captives from Judah. He can understand difficult subjects, difficult matters. Belshazzar doesn't even know who Daniel is. His wife knows and called Daniel. And in the third, what is the third year of Belshazzar, is when Daniel is having this vision. We are under Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar are Babylonian governments. Chapter 6 is Persian government. We've been speaking about this, so I don't want to repeat. Not all of you have been here, but let's go on. So on the third year of Belshazzar, this vision is going to happen.
In the third year of the reign of King Belteshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, after the one that appeared to me at the first. And I saw in the vision, and it seemed that I was at Shushan, the palace or fortress, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in the vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. And I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last.
So, I mean, first, I always say that there is a parallel between Daniel and Revelation, because the same kind of beasts appear. This is where we ended last week, actually. Daniel is going to see beasts, animals. But this is not about zoology, obviously. This is about governments. Now, let me ask you, we said something last week. Why does the Lord shows him animals if he's talking about governments? Why? Why mixing? Why not saying Daniel saw the Persian government? It says he saw a ram with two horns. One was bigger than the other. Animals have natures, and they behave in certain way according to their natures. Adam gave them that nature. Adam described them. And for the centuries, they've been behaving in that way. Animals have natures, and countries have natures. Animals, probably the reason why God is choosing the vision, not Daniel. And God is showing him animals because he's associating the nature of those animals with the nature of those countries. Yes. And countries are important. Territories is not just borders, it's natures. We see that Russia is still the same old Russia for the centuries. And we see that China, America, they have natures. The nature of, and we associate ourselves, an eagle, power, freedom, entrepreneurship, you know, the cowboy, being alone and flying. I mean, we associate with, so it's important. There's probably beyond what I understand about the nature of animals and the nature of countries. But here, I think that, what's that?
I was going to say, yeah, because our animal, our representative animal here in the United States came about that close to not being an eagle, but a turkey.
No, turkey.
We were almost represented by a wild turkey.
But no, the United States, the pilgrims ate turkey. But we never associate ourselves with turkeys, really.
Good for food.
Okay, let's go on. But look at this. Daniel is going to see visions of animals, and in the book of Revelation is going to come the same visions. The difference is that Daniel is easier than Revelation, because in Daniel we have the vision and then we have the explanation of the vision. In Revelation you don't always have the explanation. Why Daniel and Revelation? The reason, this is extremely profound, the reason why Daniel and Revelation, remember the whole thesis, Matthew, there are 14 generations from Abraham to David, and 14 generations from David to Babylon, which is Daniel, and 14 from Babylon to Jesus. I have to do it symmetric. This is Jesus. 14, 14, and 14. Daniel is here, and he's looking at these governments here. That's what we've been talking. This is a cross. And he thinks, he's talking about the end times. For Daniel is here. For Daniel, the end time is this point, is the coming of Christ. Because of the Jewish rejection of Jesus, the end time is going to be the second coming. So this is the end time. We are going to see it in this chapter. This is the end of the time, the coming of the Messiah to reign on earth, his kingdom. Because of the Jewish rejection, time is extended, and there's going to be a second coming of Christ, and this is going to be the end of time. The book of Daniel is this point talking about the end time here. The book of Revelation is talking about this end time here, the second coming. This is a little of a theory, but I think this is the way we have to look at this. Daniel is going to talk about beasts that will come here, and the book of Revelation will have the same. There is a big parallel. Daniel is the end time. Because of the Jewish rejection of Jesus, the end time was extended. It's the same idea of Kadesh Barnea. We were supposed to enter in the land from the south because we didn't believe. It took 40 years later that we entered. There were two entrants, two comings. Maybe some may not agree with this. But you may not agree. You don't agree? You agree? You agree? And we will see in this chapter, I promise you today, you will see in this chapter that is confusing. At the end of this very chapter, it says, seal this vision, it's for the end time. And then he says, this is for a distant future. What is a distant future talking about? So this is kind of confusing. But let's advance. We are in the very first part, and in this very first part, Daniel doesn't understand anything, he just sees animals.